much has been talked about with this National Blues Museum. The board chairman, Robert Endicott, joins us to talk about it. Robert, good morning. Welcome back to KTRS.
How you doing, McGraw?
So how long ago was this idea hatched?
Oh, it's been hatched probably a decade or more. It's sort of been percolating around. I got involved in 2011, but really sort of started to pick up steam in 2010.
Right.
And so that's...
And whose idea was it? How was this... Who's the genius behind it?
There are several geniuses behind it. So there's a new development that's going in downtown and has sort of been built up, the Mercantile Exchange District, the MX District, and that's on Washington Avenue.
Robust is there, the movie theater's there.
Right, exactly.
That Embassy Suites is there, I think, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So the developer, Amos Harris and Spinnaker, was looking for something to put in the bottom floor of the retail space of the old Dillard's department store, Six Baron Fuller store. And it's kind of an interesting space because it's, tall ceilings and it goes very deep into the building. So it's not like a typical storefront realty. So he was thinking, well, maybe we could put a blues bar there. And then somebody said, well, how about a St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame? And somebody else, I think, at the Partnership for Downtown St. Louis said, you guys got to think bigger. Think National Blues Museum. So Amos Harris, Mike Cosiella, Dave Beardsley were all sort of cooking this idea up.
Cleveland has the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that they just sort of invented on their own, and that's become kind of a big deal. I'm assuming, was that sort of the model, kind of?
That's exactly the model.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the people who was involved in the project knew Bob Santelli. Bob Santelli is the executive director of the Grammy Museum, but he was the first director of education on the ground floor of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. He's a blues nut, and he was the one who said, you guys got to just decide to do it, build it, and you got as much place as anybody else, so just do it.
And was it Cleveland because Bill Haley was from Cleveland? Is that right?
I think there was a radio show that was is their sort of claim to
rock and roll.
That's right.
Well, St. Louis can certainly claim there's enough blues history here. I mean, we are rich and steeped in blues history that we most certainly can have the chops to house the National Blues Museum.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we get questions about it like, well, shouldn't it be there's the Delta, there's Memphis, and there's Chicago, and we're right on that sort of that northward expansion up there. And we never say, oh, we're a more appropriate place than those cities, but we have our place.
Right. I mean, there's a long list of great jazz that has sort of come through, and blues and jazz and everything else. So have you guys secured the money? What's the big news?
Yeah, we have secured the money. So we got a really foundational gift from Pinnacle Entertainment, which owned the Lumiere Place. Now it's owned by Tropicana. A couple years back. It wasn't enough to get the museum completely built, but it was enough for us to do a tax credit financing, New Markets tax credits and historical tax credits. But when you put all that together, we just closed on all that, which is a complicated transaction. But that's enough so that we had done the design work, but the construction contracts are now released. Hammers are swinging, jackhammers are doing
so ground is being broken on the National Blues Museum.
That's right, yeah.
Now, it's not the Blues Hall of Fame, or is it the Blues Hall of Fame, or is it both?
No, it's not really the Blues Hall of Fame. We're not calling it the Hall. There's, Memphis has a Blues Foundation, and they have a Blues Hall of Fame, so we decided, well, we're not going to call it the Hall of Fame. We don't want to sort of, they're sort of already doing that, and we want to keep, we have great relations with the people in Memphis, and so our take was to do it, and we've struggled a little bit with the name National Blues Museum because it's going to be more than sort of going and sort of saying, well, there's Muddy Waters' shoes that he wore in 1964 behind a glass case. It's going to be very interactive. There's going to be a theater space there. The people who designed it designed the Spy Museum in Washington D.C. They have done the B.B. King Museum. They've done the Grammy Museum. So it's more about a really highly interactive experience with artifacts, for sure. But
is it blues? Is it jazz? What is it? I mean, because blues and jazz, and it's sort of so hard to define the musical genre.
Well, see, I'm a trumpet player on the side, and I play jazz, and but I've been playing blues in the city for the last 10 years, so I've struggled with this question.
Okay, good. So, all right, I kind of sound like I know what I'm talking about then.
That's right. So it's really the whole story of the blues, and really sort of how the blues, I mean, it's really in the DNA of so much music. Yeah, like you said, jazz and blues are joined at the hip, but blues is the foundation of country music, soul music, and just every sort of almost every American popular music that there is.
Right.
That's
one of the things that is so fascinating about blues and jazz and music is that it is truly an American art form.
Absolutely.
And it is beloved by Europe.
Yes. That's one of the themes of the museum, actually, is that whole story of, and you're exactly right. So we have this incredible music that's going on, and, it sort of is underneath the surface, and it's the Rolling Stones and the Beatles who discover it and sort of reintroduce it back to America in the 1960s. Muddy Waters opened for the Rolling Stones on their tour,
Right.
And if you go to those early Beatles records, they've got Chuck Berry covers on there. You sort of forget about that, but that's what they loved and listened to.
Right. And is it true that it got sort of started in the Deep South with the slaves singing and sort of that whole sort of world down there that was their own musical world?
It really did. It did. I like to think of blues and jazz really as sort of the intersection of, African American and really African musical traditions with European music traditions, and it's the fusing of those things. It's something that came together in a way that's uniquely American.
Sure. Any time when it's going to be open?
Yeah, it's going to be open in the fall of 2015. We're hoping
Oh,
for...
wow. So less than a year.
Yeah, that's right. So, the Arch, the 50th anniversary of the Arch is October of 2015, and I know they'll do some big thing in October to, celebrate that giant project coming together. And our goal is to be open, to catch that, all of that.
So come on down, see the Arch, and then swing by the museum.
Absolutely.
Is there I don't know anything about music. I don't know how to play. I'm musically illiterate. But matter of fact, I was in my workshop the other day, and I put on Dixieland jazz and just listened to that for a couple hours on Pandora. Is there going to be something for the musically uninclined to sort of learn, to teach me how to appreciate jazz and blues more?
Boy, yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned it's going to be interactive. So one of the first interactives that you get is you go in and you assign yourself a blues name, first of all, but then you learn about the structure of the music. So you can compose a lyric. Now we've got like a whole bunch of lyrics, and you learn about the form of the blues. It's a very simple form that it's call and response, a AAB form, a 12-bar form. So you can compose a lyric. Then you can pick a guitar lick and put it with you. I literally compose your own song.
Oh, beautiful.
Even if you don't know anything about the music, but you will come out knowing, okay, that's. And when I say the blues is it's truly in the DNA of music. You might be hearing, you can hear an Elvis Presley song, a Carl Perkins song, and Dixieland jazz, and it's like, oh, that's actually the blues. That form.
Oh, good. So you really will be able to learn and be able to at least have some to appreciate more the musical tastes of the blues.
Absolutely. I play in a band and play in several bands, but if we're on a gig somewhere and somebody's calling out a tune and somebody doesn't know, it's like, well, it's a blues in A. That's all you need to know.
Right.
Oh, okay, I got it.
So we have a little band set up here. Why don't we get some jazz bands in? Why don't we get your band to come in and play a little for us?
We'd love to. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do that. See, what's the name of your band?
The Voodoo Blues Band. So I play every Sunday down at Hammerstone's, a blues jam session
down in
Soulard. Down in Soulard. That's right. And it's sort of the who's who of. It's a jam session which sometimes is not got a good. But these are the who's who of all the blues musicians come out. And
we got a whole thing right here, all set up, all ready to go.
Yeah, we're ready to. Absolutely. I should have brought my horn in.
Starting in January, we're going to be on Channel 11 in the 9 o'clock hour. So we'll be all over the place. So come on down and jam a little bit and be our house band for us.
Will do.
Robert Endicott is the board chairman of the National Blues Museum, opening up in fall of 2015. To find out more, what's the website?
nationalbluesmuseum.org.
That's a pretty special deal you guys are doing down there. Robert Endicott, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, McGraw.
You got it. It is 9 o'clock here, the Big 550 KTRS Talk Radio, St. Louis.